Welcome to the SCRP tutorial series. In this video, we will cover how to access SCRP from macOS. Accessing SCRP from Mac, it's mostly just like accessing it from a Windows PC. First, you need an account. If you do not have one, contact me and I can create one for you. Step 2, you will need to create a password if this is the first time you're using the cluster. And step 3, you can connect to the cluster. First, connect to SCRP VPN, and then choose among the following methods. The free method of access includes browser-based access, which works on all devices and does not require any special software installation. The downside is you will not be able to use the graphical user interface of any software. The second method of access is SSH. This method of access is a bit more complicated than on Windows, because you would need to install multiple software in order to get full functionality. There is no equivalent of mobile extern on Mac. Third, you can use remote desktop. This is probably the most convenient method if you are intending to use GUI applications such as Stata on MATLAB. This will require the installation of Microsoft's remote desktop client software on your Mac. Let's start with the browser-based access. For browser-based access, you can just launch Safari and enter the URL of the login node of the cluster, scrp-login.econ.chk.edu.hk. And here you can access Jupyter Hub, enter the username and password. And there you go. You have the Jupyter interface for Typhoon. I want to note that we actually support R on Jupyter too. So that's also an option as an alternative to R Studio. So that's for Jupyter. As an alternative, you can use R Studio if that's what you are looking for. Once again, use the same username and password. And there you go. You have R Studio. So that's the browser-based access method. Next, let's try using remote desktop. Right, for remote desktop, you will need Microsoft's remote desktop client. So open App Store, search for remote desktop, and you should see Microsoft Remote Desktop. Install the software, and I have it installed already. Open, add PC, enter the URL of a login node, scrp-login.econ.chk.edu.hk. You can, if you want to, add your user account here. If you don't, it would ask you to enter your username and password. So I will go ahead and enter my username and password here. If you want to be able to upload or download files through remote desktop, you can choose to redirect folders. Here, I'm going to redirect my document folders. Open, add. So this is my remote desktop connection to the cluster. And now I double click on it. And there you go. You are in the cluster. Let's try launching Stata. Statistics, Stata. There you go. Here it is. The folders that you redirect will appear under the Thin Client Drives folder. And this is under your home directory. Here, you can choose Open Folder and Documents. You see that this is the folder I redirect. Let's see if we can drag and drop files, and it does work. So this is how you can upload and download files by drag and drop. In Stata, if you need to, you can open files on Save Files. You should see your home folder here, right, under your username. the thin client drives. If you want to, you can directly load files from there if that's what you're looking for, right? Thin client drives. On SCRP login, it's thin client drives. On SCRP login 2, it's going to be thin client drives too. So that's remote desktop. But on Windows, if you just choose to close the remote desktop window, the programs you open will still be running. If you're sure you're done, you can choose logout. And then the session will actually end. Finally, you can choose to use SSH. If you want to use SSH, you would need a software called XQuas. Let's open Safari and search for XQuas. There you go. You can download and install. I have already had this installed. It will appear under Utility, XQuas. To access SSH, you need XQuas. Once you have it installed, you can launch it. And after you launch it, you need to open a terminal. To connect to the cluster, type SSH -y, and then your username and the URL of a login node. Enter your password. There you go. So you're now connected to SSH. All you need to do now is to launch the application you need. And there you go, that's Stata. Now, the downside of using XQuas is that it's not a SFTP client. So there's no way for you to easily upload files. You can use the SFTP command built in, but there's no drag and drop that you can use, which some students find very inconvenient. If you want to upload and download files, you would actually need to install additional software. FileZilla for Mac. So you can download the FileZilla client and install it. That would give you an SFTP client. After you have downloaded FileZilla, launch it. Here you enter the hostname scrp-login.econ.chk.edu.hk, your username, your password, and the port needs to be 22. If this is the first time you are connecting to the server, it would warn you that the server host key is unknown. If you're going to do this more than once, you probably want to check, always trust this host and add this key to the cache. That would connect to the cluster. And as you see, it defaults to your home directory. And you can drag and drop files from your own computer over here. Let's try dragging a file from the documents folder. Let's try that. Drag and drop. There you go. It does work.